Hello my dear pupils, how are you? Welcome to Darasa Online. My name is Sir Ramadan Hudhaifan Kajia, English language teacher, Standard 7. Well, before I introduce you to our lesson today, I would like us to briefly review on what we learned previously. My dear pupils, last time we learned about conditional sentences type 2 by using if, whereby we looked at its structure and we said it is made up of if stroke unless plus simple past plus would. Therefore, my dear pupils, today we are going to look at the same type of conditional sentences, but this time round we are going to use unless and not if. But prior to that, let us review on some few points and see some few examples on what we did last time. So my dear pupils, kindly stay attentively, pay attention, and I would like you to give me that maximum cooperation as you always do. So dear pupils, let us get started. Well, my dear pupils, as you can see on the board, these are just examples of what we did last time, whereby we said our conditional sentences type 2 is made up of if stroke unless plus simple past plus would. Our example here says, if I had money. Dear pupils, had is the simple past of the word has or have. So if I had money, I would buy a new car. And this is the formatting and the structure of conditional sentences type 2. Example 2 says, if she came, we would go with her. If she came. Came, simple past of come, my dear pupils. We would go with her. We would, as our structure suggests. We would go with her. And last but not least, number 3 says, if John played well. If John played well, John played well, what would happen? He would win the game. He would win the game, my dear pupils. So this is just the review of what we learned previously. Therefore, today we are going to look at conditional sentences type 2, just the same, but using unless. So, my dear people, stay attentively. Let us now try to see verbs, some verbs in simple past. The way we normally change verbs from simple present to simple past. Then we are going to use the same verbs to construct our sentences in type 2 condition using unless. So, my dear pupils, listen carefully. Yes, my dear pupils, back to class. How to change main verbs. Main verbs. Because if we just say verbs, we have helping verbs. But here, we are dealing with main verbs. So how to change main verbs from simple present into simple past, my dear pupils. So we have different kind of verbs, particularly main verbs, I mean. We have modal helping verbs, and we have primary helping verbs. And again, we have main verbs in particular now. So we are going to look at the main verbs and not helping verbs, my dear pupils. Main verbs are broadly divided into two. We have yes, my dear pupils, main verbs are grouped into two, whereby we have regular verbs and irregular verbs. As we said last time, regular verbs, these are verbs that follow the rule of adding ed, ied, or just d to the main verb. And we said, example is cook. Simple past of cook is cooked. Just add ed. We have another verb which is play. Play, if you want to get its simple past, just add ed, you get played. And just to mention a few. Irregular verb on the other side, they don't follow that format of adding ed or ied or d to form their simple past or past participle. What they do is they either change the base word completely or they don't change, it just goes throughout the simple past and past participle. For example, the word cut, the verb cut, simple past remains cut, past participle cut. We have verbs like buy, simple past of buy is bought, and past participle bought. So you can see, you can just say buyed, you don't have buyed. You cannot say again cutted, you don't have cutted, but just cut, bought. And also we have cost. You can say this pen costs me, or this pen cost me a lot of money. So costs, simple present, cost, simple past, cost, past participle. So let us see examples of regular verbs and irregular verbs, my dear pupils. And again, we are going to use regular verbs to give out sentences using unless, and also irregular verbs to do the same. So pupils, please be with me. My dear pupils, we can define regular verbs as you can see on the board. These are the verbs that form their simple past and past participle by adding either d, my dear pupils, ed or ied to their base words. Let us see some of the examples of regular verbs. Remember, today we are going only to deal with simple past. So verbs in simple present, verbs in simple past. Remember, we are under regular verbs, my dear pupils. The first example, So, my dear pupils, these are examples of regular verbs in their simple present and simple past. The first one is play. You can say play or plays. So you can just write on the in bracket plays. Why plays? You can just say she plays very well. But if the subject is in plural, you say they play very well. So the word play in simple present, you can just leave the way it is or add s depending on the subject. So play or plays becomes played. We just add ed to the main verb play. Cook also can say cooks. She cooks a nice meal. But they cook nice meals. Simple past of this particular verb, my dear pupils, is cooked. We add ed and it becomes cooked. Study. Study. Simple past, studied. We have added ied after dropping the y. So we get our verbs in simple past. So these are just examples of regular verbs. We have a lot of them. Now let us see examples of irregular verbs. On the other hand, my dear pupils, irregular verbs don't follow the format we have just seen on regular verbs. Instead, they take a different formatting. So can define as follows. My dear pupils, irregular verbs. These are verbs that do not follow the rule of adding d, ed, my dear pupils, or ied in order to form their past tense or past tenses. Instead, they have other formats. Now, let us see examples of irregular verbs. So, my dear pupils, examples of irregular verbs in their simple present form and in their simple past form. First example, my dear pupils, we have buy. which becomes bought. And not buyed. You don't have buyed in English. Second example. We have the verb cut. Cut. Simple past, cut. My dear pupils, don't have cutted. It is cut in simple past, cut in past participle. Bought in simple past, bought in past participle. We shall see later on how to form verbs from simple present to simple past to past participle. Third example. We have the verb split. Simple past of split is split. And past participle also split. We don't have splitted. More examples. My dear pupils, we have another verb, run. Simple past, ran. Just listen to the pronunciation. Run. Ran. Another example. My dear pupils, you have our verb eat, which changes into simple past and become ate. This one is pronounced ate, just like number 8. Don't say ate, it is 8. So, and as I said earlier, we can have buy or buys. So we can put S in bracket as you can see there. Also cut, you can have cuts. She cuts my book. They cut my books. She buys a pen. They buy pens. Split. She splits his books. Or she splits his book. They split their books. We have run. She runs very fast, but plural form becomes they run very fast. Or you run, or we run, or I run. We don't say I runs, or we runs. No. I know you know the formula on how to use these verbs with personal pronouns, meaning first person, second person, and third person. Here again you have our verb eat, and it can also be written as eats. For example, Mwajuma eats very noisily. But if say Mwajuma and Amina, or Esther and Anna, you just say eat very fast or very noisily. So we don't add s if the subject is in plural form, my dear people. So having said that, this is just the briefing on how we can form our irregular verbs from simple present to simple past. So my dear pupils, I hope I am communicating. Let us now try to form sentences in simple past. Examples of sentences, my dear pupils, in simple past. Let us use these verbs here, meaning the irregular verbs, and also we're going to mix with regular verbs. First example. First example says, John bought a book. John bought a book. This is a sentence, my dear people, in simple past. Another example says, she cut down a tree. My dear peoples, she cut down a tree. This is not a sentence in simple present. If it were in simple present, it will read, she cuts down a tree. We add S to the main verb here. She cuts. For it to be simple present. But this one is a sentence in simple past. She cut down a tree. Another example. Another example, my dear people, says, the boy split my book into 2 equal halves. Split. Also, this one is not a sentence in simple present, my dear peoples. The verb split in simple past remains the same and past participle. So the boy split. For it to be in simple present, it should read, the boy splits. We add S here. We add S here. The main verb split. So this sentence is in simple past. The boy split my book into 2 equal halves. Another example. My dear peoples, example 4 says, the dog ran very fast. It's a sentence in simple past because our verb also is in simple past. Example 5. Example 5 says, the teacher ate my apple. The teacher ate my apple. So, ate, simple past of eat or eats. Let us see now other examples using regular verbs. Because all these, you can see from bought, cut, split, ran, and ate are what we call irregular verbs. Let us add number 6 up to 10 using regular verbs. Example 6 says, they played football well. They played football well. This is also a sentence in simple past, but we have used the verb which is in regular form, played. Hamisi cooked a nice meal, my dear pupils. Hamisi cooked a nice meal. Cook or cooked is a verb in regular form. Another example. Now, the child danced very well. The verb danced comes from the verb dance. So we have added D, only D, to the main verb dance, and it became danced. So this one is the past form of the verb dance. So the child danced very well. This is a sentence in simple past, my dear pupils. Another example. Yes, my dear pupils. Example 9 says, my mother washed her clothes. And pupils, kindly note here. We don't pronounce this word clothes. I've heard a good number of you are pronouncing this word as clothes. We don't have clothes. We say clothes. Repeat after me. Say clothes. Clothes. Thank you. So, this is example 9. My mother washed her clothes. Last example, number 10. Yes. Example 10 says, you jumped through the window. Remember, through is a preposition. So you jumped through the window. Our main verb here is jump, but we have changed it into simple past by just adding ed, and it became jumped. Therefore, my dear pupils, this is how we can form sentences in simple past. Let us go now and construct sentences in type 2. Remember, we said the structure for conditional sentences type 2 is if stroke unless plus simple past plus would. And remember, last time we did using if. This time round now, we are going to write sentences in type 2 using unless. So let us see on how we can form sentences in type 2 by using unless. Well, my dear pupils, example 2 says, the boy will be late for school unless he woke up early. Woke up, the simple past of wake. So, example 3 says, example 3 says, unless the girl cut down the trees, my dear pupils, unless the girl cut down the trees, she would be punished. So, we have our verb here, cut, which is in simple past, and also would. Example 4. My dear pupils, example 4 says, unless they played well, they would lose the match. So this is also an example of a sentence in conditional type 2. Example 5. My dear pupils, example 5 says, we would be late. We would be late for games unless we ran fast. Last example, my dear pupils. Yes, my dear pupils. Example 6 says, you will be late for school unless you ate hurriedly. Meaning, you have to eat very fast or in a hurry, hurriedly. You will be late for school unless you ate hurriedly. So, my dear pupils, these are just examples of conditional sentences type 2, whereby we have used unless. Let us now try to see on how we can replace the if condition with the unless. We're going to write 5 sentences here, then we are going to replace the if with unless and see how it goes. My dear pupils, how to replace the if with the unless in conditional sentences type 2. Example. My dear pupils, first example says, if they came early, they would go with them. So we want to replace the if with the word unless. Let us see on how we can do it. My dear pupils, when you replace the if with unless, it will read this way. Unless they came early, they would not go with them. Well, my dear pupils, number 2 says, if she spoke to him, she would get the information she needed. Let us replace the if with unless. To read, unless she spoke to him, she will not get the information she needed. Therefore, my dear pupils, this is how you can write the sentences with if using unless. I do hope up to this juncture you'll be in a position to answer questions pertaining this area. And therefore, my dear pupils, let us now look at the exercise. Well, you have the 5 questions here as your homework. Instruction says, complete the sentences below by choosing the letter of the correct answers. Complete the sentences below by choosing the letter of the correct answer. First question says, she dashed to Dodoma if her father sent her fare. The second question says, unless he dashed early, he would wake up late tomorrow. Unless he dashed early, he would wake up late tomorrow. Third question, Jane will wash her clothes if she dashed water. Fourth question, our team dashed win the match unless it played well. Question 5 says, the teacher dashed us unless we did his homework. So, my dear pupils, hope by now you'll be able to express condition using type 2 conditional sentences. I'm happy that you have showed me that maximum cooperation from the beginning of the lesson up this juncture. Therefore, I urge you to stay attentively in the coming lessons. Next time when we meet, we are going to look at what we call conditional sentences type 3. My dear pupils, God bless you and bye-bye.